Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'll be working on my two little leaf Ficus benjamina. About midsummer on this tree, I did some major root surgery to this tree, sorting out a lot of the problem roots. I'll show you what that looked like, how much of the root system I actually took off. The challenge today will be to reduce this giant root system back to try and make it in proportion with the rest of the tree and still have the tree live. All right, here comes the part that's going to be hard to watch for some people because I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting. So I've got to establish my root plane. So I've got some nice roots coming down and then some sub roots coming off them, which could be exposed. You know, if my soil line was about here. So here goes this big potato one for starters. So it's going to come off right here. Like that. Now that is a ginseng ficus root if I ever saw one. Wow. So now this one's next, and you can see this is a potato root, and then coming off it is even some thicker ones. So I've got to take it off way back here. Like that. Try and get in there a bit more. It's hard to see where this root is. It's so giant. There. I think I got it out now, yeah. So there's that root. Look at the size of that root. Wow. Amazing. So I'm going to prune them off for now. There's no part of them I can use either. That's gone. Now I got to clean that up a bit. You can see I removed one here in the past and it's all healed over. So I'll do a similar thing here. Something here. It's this root here needs pruning. There. Okay. Well, that's an improvement. Doesn't have any really thick, ugly surface roots. Like maybe this is my worst one here now. That one's still kind of thick. But not too bad. It flows into the ground nicely. So here's the tree today. It survived. It grew really nicely for the rest of the summer. In fact, it didn't even skip a beat after all that root surgery. Ficus are amazing. If you repot them midsummer when it's hot and humid out, they just keep on growing like nothing ever happened. They're amazing trees. I've done the root work to this tree, so now today I'm going to work on the top part of the tree. Here is what the tree looks like today. I'll rotate it around so you can see it from all angles. So here's the front, coming around to the right view, around to the back, the left view, and back to the front. I'm going to start by cleaning the tree up. There's a lot of dead leaves that have fallen in to the canopy here. A few yellowed leaves. These are just older leaves that have fallen off and got trapped in the branch structure here. I've got the tree all cleaned up. I noticed that some of the inner branches are starting to get weak and some of the foliage was dying out because they're not getting much light in there. So it's a good time to thin this tree out and get it back to shape. I'm standing back looking at the tree now, and I want to determine how tall I want this tree. You know, do I want it this height, or do I want to cut it down some or cut it down more? So it's all just a matter of style for this tree. You could make it a short, squat tree. It has lots of branches down low. You could make it a medium size easily, or even keep it tall. So I think what will determine that, let's go in and look at the branch structure and see what I've got to work with. I'm looking at the structure of the tree now. So I have a straight trunk that comes up. Off to the right hand side, I have a very thick kind of stump that turns into a branch that kind of goes horizontal and then curves up. Off to the left hand side, I have quite a thick branch that kind of tapers and reaches upwards. Up the middle, towards the back, I have a branch that comes up that kind of continues the trunk line It divides several places and then forms a crown up here. So it's not the most attractive looking tree in the world. I'm pretty well stuck with this as the front because this has the nicest root base by far. So I'll try and style the tree, using this as the front. And, as far as height, I would say if I prune it off about here, I'm keeping most of my branch structure on the tree. If I start going down lower, I don't think I have much that's really nice looking down here. I think I'd end up regrowing pretty well everything. Yeah. So I'm thinking for now, I'm going to make it kind of about this high. I'll see how it looks. Maybe, after a bit of cleanup and that, maybe I'll decide to change my mind. But for now, I'm thinking pruning it off to about here. I'm going to come in with the big scissors to prune the top canopy down. So here I go. Making a rounded umbrella shape. Rapid reduction. And I think that's about it. I've sprayed sap all over my background. Here's a look at the tree now. It's already looking better with the height reduced like that. So now I've got to go into the crown and kind of further refine those branches. On a tree, you want the branches to start off thickest where they join the trunk and get thinner and thinner as it reaches the outer profile of the canopy. You can see I've got some thick branches that come right to the edge of the canopy, so they need to be reduced back. All right, I'll start the thinning. So I'm going to take that branch back to here, taking the thick part off and developing a thinner branch down lower. There's a dead one out front here I can remove. There's one kind of growing straight up and actually going towards the center of the tree. I'll take that one out. There's one here that crisscrosses in front of this trunk. I'll take that one off. It's also growing towards the inside of the tree. There's a dead branch back here I can remove. Now at the top of this branch, it's being pruned, and then I have this opposite branches here. That doesn't look very good. It kind of looks like a slingshot or a U. So I've got to take one of those off. And this one kind of goes more upright, but it goes in towards the center of the tree. So I'm better keeping the ones that fan outwards. So that middle one is going to come right off. This one right here. So here I go. Like that. At that junction, I've got a branch growing here that needs to be removed. It's growing from the inside of a curve and sticking straight out front. Get rid of that. Now, this one branch is kind of horizontal. I would rather, something that flows a little nicer upwards. So, out the back I have a more vertical branch, so I'm going to remove the front portion here. Like that. Keeping my more vertical one. I'll remove this one. So there's the flow line of my branch now up to the apex of it. And I'll reduce this back a bit. Like that. That gets that branch or trunk line as clean and flowing and as nice as possible. The rest of the branches in this area flow outwards quite nicely, except for this one, which goes right vertical. I have one flowing outwards here. I could prune it back to it. Let's see what that looks like. It's better. This one is also very straight, and has very little taper, so it should be reduced back so I can grow out, you know, some finer branches to the outer canopy. So I can reduce it. There's a leaf scar here I see, so I could take it back just above that. I think that'll help that branch. Hopefully something else will grow in this section. I have another branch out the back here that's very straight with no taper, no movement. I could take it right back to here or take the top off to here. I'll try taking the top off first, see what it looks like. If it's still too straight looking, which it is, especially up in the upper canopy, I'll have to take it back to here. The upper canopy, you want a lot of taper, movement, and fine branching. You don't want these big, coarse, stiff-looking branches coming out. Now, behind it, I have a branch that comes out. There's this branch divides into two quickly here. Then I've got one that kind of comes straight up and one kind of back further. I kind of like the one that comes straight up as, you know, an apex as part of the canopy. So I'll keep that, just prune it back. And the one behind will become more of a horizontal branch. So I'll prune it back to here. Taking that off. Now there's one coming up the back here. Right here. Prune off anything growing inwards towards the center of the tree, keeping that, you know, separation between my branches. Another one here that can come off. So I'm looking for something that fans out, and I do have this nice branch back here. And I've got one that fans off on the inside. So I'm going to take the top off this branch right here. So here I go. Quite a cut. And I'll need to shorten this. Like that. It's starting to get the upper canopy a little better. I'll shorten this here. This to here. And this to here. You can see there's, you know, the start of a bit of a crown here. Now there's one, this branch kind of flows outwards and there's a vertical section. I'll take that off. Don't need that, it's congesting this area. And then this branch comes up, goes more horizontal, and then horizontal again. So I'll take the top off that one because I don't want it that tall. Like that. And then I'll reduce the length of it back to here. Kind of keeping these more horizontal spreading branches and developing the crown up here. These will eventually be part of the crown, but... And then the same thing with this branch. It kind of sweeps upwards. Now, I've got to decide, do I want to keep that? It is sort of part of the crown. I think if I remove that entire branch, the tree would look a little lopsided. It needs something over here, just to kind of balance the canopy out. So, I'm trying to look for nice flow lines coming up the branch. The natural kind of flow line is where it is. Take off some of these branches going in towards the center of the tree. There's a vertical line I can take off there. One going to the inside I can take off. Anything that helps you see the structure of the branch helps. You know, pruning out these little ones. I think I'm going to take this one. It's too vertical. I'm going to take that off. And then I'm going to reduce this one back. Maybe even further. To there. Reduce the height of it. And then there's one coming out the front here. I don't like this one. That's got to come off. And then this one coming out the front. I'm going to take this part of it off. Not keen on this branch either. But it's a branch. So that's slowly getting the crown better. I think that's got to come right off. It's too horizontal. And there's a better one that kind of sweeps upwards here. That one comes right out. I gotta decide about this one. I don't like it at all. It's absolutely straight. I think it's just gotta come off. It interferes with this one. I'd either have to keep this one and get rid of this one, or keep this one and get rid of this one. And I think this is a better branch. It's a little thicker, even though it doesn't taper at all. I just don't like where this one starts. It kind of has a, it doesn't flow the angle of it, so it's got to come off. There it goes. That opens that up a lot. A lot of branches coming from this one spot down here. Here's a shot of how I'm doing so far. Ugh. Difficult tree. There's a lot of funny stuff going on with it. Just pruning off some of these vertical shoots here. Just kind of cleaning up the structure a bit. Trying to see what's going on. So let's get to the base of this branch. I've got all these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe more. Yeah. All these little fine branches coming out from this one spot. And it's kind of hiding this branch line. I think I want to keep one coming out front and remove all the rest. And I think the one I'm going to keep is probably this angular one here, or the one below it, one of these. Yeah, so I'm going to get rid of this hanging branch. All these branches will just make this area bulge even more. It's just too many branches coming from one spot. So I'm going to get rid of all the excess ones and just keep the one to develop. So this one is quite strong, but it's horizontal. I would rather it flow upwards slightly. So it's coming off. There's a few hanging branches that come off of this branch. They're not so bad. I'm going to take this one off. It comes straight towards the viewer. This one could come off. Come on. This one's got to come off. This one at the back here, that's got to come off. So that's cleaned that area up a lot. I still have 2 branches here. I'm going to keep both, see how they develop, and then I'll keep probably the upper one. Should I? No, I'm going to get rid of the lower one. The upper one's pretty strong. It'll develop nicely. It gives me something coming out the front of the tree. There's one here pointing straight out the front I'll get rid of. You don't want anything coming absolutely straight towards the front. You want it on an angle a bit if you can. So that's got this side cleaned up a lot. I'll just prune off these long branches here, prune them back a bit. Now, I've got 2 coming from one spot here. I wonder if I should just keep the one. I think so. This one's perfectly in line with the branch, so I'll keep the one out front. Get rid of this one. So that's definitely cleaned up, this branch line. It's not the most attractive in the world, but it's there. There's something there. Well, there's another one hanging, coming from way down here. I've got to get rid of that one. Like that. Okay, well, that's what I'm left with. If this develops really nicely, maybe someday this one can go. Let's do the same for this side. I've got all these multiple branches growing from one spot. I do have the one branch that sweeps up here, so I think I want something kind of coming at a similar angle. So it'll be this one I keep, so all the rest can come off. That is the nicest flowing branch. This tree isn't really that graceful. It's not the most flowing and beautiful looking tree in the world. But, you know, keep working at it and hopefully it'll get there. Hopefully it'll become beautiful someday. I got the same thing back here. I've got all these multiple branches coming out from one spot. So again, you know, you pick your best branches, get rid of all the rest. So my best branch there, I don't want it underneath, you know, in the shade of this branch. So probably this one coming out here is the best one. So I'll keep that one. And everything else can go. It was very dense and congested in that area. Now I could keep one out the back maybe. So this branch would divide into two. I think I will, so I'll keep a couple out the back, or one out the back. That one. So that's really cleaned that area of the tree out. So I've got this branch, which is basically a stump dividing into two here, which is good. Looks nice. Now, if we go up into this area, I've got 4 branches growing in one spot here. So again, I'll want to keep my best one. And which one is that? These ones are kind of growing in between the 2 major branches. This one's coming kind of straight out front. I think that's the one I want to keep. I just said, you know, you don't want one sticking straight out the front, but I don't have much choice in this. It is nice to have some foliage. You don't want to see your trunk line from the bottom of the tree all the way up to the top. You want some branches in the way to kind of break it up. So I'll get rid of all these other ones here. The ones that are growing in between the other branches. Like that. Keeping the ones coming out the front. I will prune the vertical part of it off though. Whew. Take this off. Take this back. Now, if I look at my rounded profile, I'm kind of high here. So I got to do something about these branches. Like bring them back. That'll do it. That's got that. Take that off shorter. Okay, I'm going to stand back now and look and see what I've got. There is still a possibility I'll make major changes, like maybe, you know, remove some big branches or stumps off the tree. Anything's possible. So, spiders crawling everywhere. Sorry guys, I must have disturbed their home. Yeah, let's stand back and have a look at the tree. I'm standing back looking at the tree now. It has some nice stuff going for it. I like the vertical kind of branches reaching upwards. I'm not a big fan of the one that kind of droops down and then goes upwards, but it's not the worst in the world either. The one that comes up the side here, it kind of comes up the side and then goes towards the back. I'm not real keen on that, but maybe, you know, as I develop something out this side, it'll look much better. I think it will, as that thickens up that side. Yeah, it's got some work to go, but I think it's not a bad structure. It's fairly pleasing. It's not a typical tree, but it certainly looks like a ficus, which is, you know, always your goal, at least my goal, to make them look like, you know, miniature versions of the tree you'd see in nature. And I get the impression of a ficus here. So I think I'm just trying to decide, you know, what I could do to improve it. You know, I don't like that one reaching up at the side so high. I could shorten it. But again, it needs that for balance because I have the one on the left-hand side. If I shorten it, to here is where I'd like to shorten it to. Kind of have it sort of in between this upper branch. Fills in that space. But if I were to just cut it off, chances are it wouldn't backbud in that area and it would just die back to those lower branches. So I think what I'll do, if something develops in this area, a branch coming off here, then I can shorten it back. Because it does need to be shortened. If I did it now, it'd be a Hail Mary cut, and chances are it would just die back to those living branches below. So I think, I've got to be happy where the tree is. It survived that severe root pruning. Got the bottom portion of the tree kind of in check. And now the top portion of the tree is in check also. So yeah, I'm quite happy. I think it's at a stage where you can see the design structure and it can just be improved into the future. Pruning the tree back like that, it sure makes the pot look too large, that's for sure. But, the tree will grow into the pot, I'm sure. I'll rotate the tree around so you can see it from all angles once again. I'll get my 2 little leaf ficus back in the plant room where it's nice and warm and humid, and hopefully it'll grow well this winter and we can do further styling on it in the upcoming year. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.